Um, Sorry, there goes the other. There go
Kanye's campaign manager.
Man, he had to make.
Oh man,
you made a late entrance like Kanye, so I'm going to let that slide. So,
oh, that's right. And if you come in the office hours, you will hear about Kanye's campaign as well, because we talk about that a lot.
I forgot even what I was talking about. This guy.
Hey, look, we do news updates on Kanye's campaign. This Friday, I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about his crying and the tears. And
yeah, you see what my guys did to me in my office yesterday.
Oh, your sound's off, Vince.
Yeah, Vince don't know how to work that. He just got all that.
He got all that equipment. Don't know how to work it.
Just because you got an account at B&H don't mean you know what you're doing.
You say nothing about my Alphas Only jacket.
I can't see it because it's cropped.
Oh,
but I was going to hear me now. Yeah, we can hear you now. But when I was getting off the stream, I was going to ask you what kind of jacket you was wearing because it was fresh. But now that you say Alphas Only,
nice and crisp, it's Alphas Only.
Yeah. Hey, scroll back up. There was a question from just real quick right there. The Public Square. I think this is a good panel to be able to ask this question. The Public Square says, will companies try to lobby to push wholesalers out of the game?
Yes. Next question.
Is that from
yeah, I think. Don't you think
that's Kanye's manager right there?
But like seriously, don't you think so? Well, let me say it this way, and then you guys tell me what you think. I think, Max, you have done such an amazing job of giving people access to this business, and other people too. I mean, there's like a whole cohort of you guys who really have led the charge. And the beautiful thing is that people could get into real estate who couldn't have otherwise. The problem is everybody isn't happy about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just say it that way, right? Everybody ain't happy about that. So you better believe there's more regulation coming, and they're going to start finding ways to push people out.
Yeah, I believe they will try. I believe some states have tried. Illinois, in particular, has tried to implement a law based because of the Association of Realtors. But if you look at the core principle of what wholesaling is in general, it's going to be hard to dodge so many industries to be able to just attack just one industry. Now, I may be a little crazy, but I think what happens is wholesaling in general and what the concept is and who does it, because banks do it. There's a lot of big money involved on the upper level in the same concept of wholesaling. So I think they're going to have a difficult time trying to axe the industry with a hatchet, and they're going to have to try to dissect it with the little scalpel.
So one thing is, right, like you can probably do legislation pretty quickly to get rid of assignment fees. And if they try to attack, they're going to come after the assignment fees first. Mm-hmm. But you can't attack somebody who actually bought the house and owns it and turns around and sells it.
Unless you're in New York City, where they're going to put down crazy tax.
That's right.
Well, right. So if they put down the crazy tax, but my point is that there's always going to be ways around it, because they're going to put ways to make it harder, but it's going to be difficult for them to make it illegal.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that. I think it's going to be death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah. They'll try to make it where it's really difficult for you to participate in that type of business. So they'll change like seasoning and say if you own it less than X amount of days, and you got to pay some additional tax or something like that. But I personally think we're a long ways away before they focus on that end. Where they're going to focus first, where they already are focusing, is on the marketing side, right? So all of you doing SMS text campaigns, all of you doing cold calling, all of you doing RVM. That's where, they're going to start focusing and cracking down specifically, I think, on REI, because, it's going to hurt anybody who's using those platforms to market their business. But I think the REI world is kind of ushering in legislation in those areas faster.
Yeah, and I think one of the big problems with this whole seasoning period and all of that is because if you try to do that, you're going to attack a lot of the big people. You're going to affect a lot of big money.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
I mean, billions and $1 trillion industries with this seasoning period. And I think there's enough lobbies to kind of, they're gonna have to try to do this a different way other than the traditional.
Right. And the other reason, so to that exact point, Max, which is why I don't think that it's going to become illegal anytime soon, or even owning, because that's essentially what Open Door does. Open Door is funded by billions of dollars. They got lobbyists, I'm sure, that are lobbying all day long down at Capitol Hill, and they've got big money behind them. So
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah, I'm
ahead,
not
Vince.
sure I think it ever becomes illegal. I just think they're gonna, like they do with
Make it harder.
they're just gonna make it harder.
They're gonna make it harder, but they'll be shaped around how companies like Open Door transact business.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I think,
I
right?
do think that Chicago is setting a precedent, and Open Door already has this. Open Door is already a broker. They already have their broker's license. So I think that you are going to see more states where, in order to do the business safely, and sort of keep the regulators away from your door, I think a lot more more states are going to require you to get licensed. I think
But
that
Yeah.
Illinois and Ohio are gonna
I
follow.
think what that does though is that starts to blur the line of what a licensed representative is to the people
I agree.
of what they represent,
Yeah.
right?
Totally agree.
Licensed agents and realtors are not investors traditionally,
Mm-hmm.
and they
Yeah.
can't act in dual capacity at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have this big problem of, well, I was kind of misled, or I didn't have that impression in you, because all realtors marketed is totally geared towards something totally different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well,
but
it's an interesting point, Max, because you also see a lot of realtors who are now offering to buy your home. If I don't sell it, I'll buy it.
it's funny. I had this conversation. I don't know if it was online or in the office, but when I was a broker back when I was 21, um, I used to see that where people would say, "We'll sell your house or we'll buy it cash,"
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
right? So essentially, they were doing is pass it to somebody that was going to buy it at a discount for whatever. But
Right.
I just don't. I don't
And they're
think.
doing it more now. I mean, it's in direct response to the iBuyers.
That's right.
But
I
that's
see
why
people okay with that.
that's why I almost feel like we're protected in the sense that you can't kill us without killing them too.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. I think you know. So, do we have a name? I just want to address them by name. But whoever asked the question, I don't think it becomes illegal. I think the guys are exactly right. I just think they'll put up barriers to try to keep folks out.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good question.
Yeah.
And then we'll come up with a way for you not to be pushed out.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
Period.
Yeah.
You can't. It's impossible because it's almost the root and the foundation of what America is.
That's right.
And then if you chop this, and this is how you beat the game, is you start playing the same game they play in, and they can't. It's going to be real hard for them to pass legislation against the game that they're already playing and winning at very, very well. Then it's going to be hard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the flip, if you think about it, is kind of the foundational transaction in this country. You know, flip houses, flip paper, flip securities, flip. The flip is kind of the foundation of this economy, and so the notion of you saying to somebody, "Oh, not for you. You can't flip though." Like,
Yeah.
I don't think
I
you're
mean,
ever going to be able to write that into law.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, and another way of saying the same exact thing is wholesaling is the foundation of business.
It is.
I
Period.
mean, you buy something at a lower price, you sell it at a higher price. You make arbitrage. I mean, that's what grocery stores, everybody does.
Yeah.
And that's why I said it has to attack. You have to start carving it out where you're saying, oh, well, we're just going after real estate. Well, let's just go after banks for wholesaling mortgages.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I mean, you can have a mortgage today, and in a week, it's serviced and owned by somebody else.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I think Justin's point earlier, though, is probably the one. If I'm in this audience and I'm trying to figure out what my business plan looks like over the next 6 months, is the one I would pay the most attention to. Is that I think assignment fees. That one, I can see them knocking off the books.
Yeah.
You know, I could see where, you know, enough people come out and say this guy has zero skin in the game. Why should we allow him to flip? A flip means you bought it and you took some risk. This guy had zero risk. I can see an argument for that.
Right. And so on the legislation side, it's a whole lot easier to attack that and say that that looks like a kickback and is a violation of, RESPA versus I actually purchased and owned it for a period of time and then and then sold it, even if I only owned it for a couple hours. And
And that's the
so
reason. That's the reason why in my company now, in Venture Atlas, is where we purchase all our deals.
There you go.
And it's
That's
not
it.
just because we have the ability. It's we're kind of getting ourselves future proof,
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
right.
then we have a in-house brokerage if we need to go that route too. So there's
And that's the new that will be the paradigm. Like that will be how, wholesaling will have to happen. So for the guy or woman who is a wholesale company owner, and they're like, well, I'm just getting started, I don't have the money. Well, they're going to have to partner with companies like Venture Atlas.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And somebody, a guy in the truck says, so you double close. No, we don't double close. And I think there's probably an overall overuse of that word.
Mm-hmm.
A double close I've never done. No attorney that I've worked with was comfortable doing them, where essentially you fund the A and B transaction with C's money, and so it's on the balance sheet and on their what's the account name, their escrow account. It doesn't add up. So no,
Mhm.
it means we actually purchase the property and resell it. And we found some pros and cons to it. There's more fees involved. But that's also why we brought in-house attorneys in our business to cut down on those fees. And then we it we can sell the property for more money on the MLS right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of been the route we're going.
But to your point, this is another example of them trying to discourage wholesale. This is probably the first shot across the bow, was getting rid of double close, right? Is being able to use excuse me, seize money. And they said, no, you got to have wet funds. And that's been law for a few years now, actually. But they said we want the guy to actually be able to close, even if he only owns it for a few hours. He got to close. That was the first, I think, sort of step towards what we're talking about, just making that harder.
I agree. I agree. That's good. Um, Kenneth has been asking the same question for a while. We've been seeing you, and you said you're interested in getting into wholesaling. And I would say just do a little bit more research. That's it. You're asking, how do I do home? How do I value home renovations or something like that? Just Google it, or go into Wholesaling Houses Elite and search in that search field, and you'll see that. Or just go watch one of the 300 videos I have. Probably have it in there quite a bit. And I'm not even like,
Right. Yeah.
I'm not trying to jack him, but I'm just saying, like, and I talked about this in an earlier podcast, is that in general, people in general have to change their mindset of being handed something versus
right.
being able to go out and find it, because you've typed that question at least 20 times in the chat. And if that becomes your mindset on how you're going to receive information, you'll never make the next step. So I want to untrain you how to stop depending on that question being answered for you to move to the next step, and just go find that answer out there, because it's out there.
And I would tell you, I would actually even go even further in terms of having you do some work to find this answer. What Max gave you is still pretty easy, to go into the group. I would, and I did this early on. If you have, I'm not sure if you're in the business yet, but if you have a deal under contract, or if you ever have occasion to go along with somebody else who has one under contract, go there when the buyers show up. Invariably, it looks like this. Tell me if I'm wrong. There's the money that shows up, which is usually, probably somebody from overseas. And they got on Dockers and whatever else. And then they have their GC. And the GC has got on, overalls and what have you. And they're walking through with a clipboard. And the GC is telling them that's going to cost that, and that's going to cost that, and that's going to cost that. And the money is following behind going, okay, cool. Does this still work? Does this still work? I used to follow behind those pairs. So I would just have them come into the house and just walk behind them quietly. And that's how I learned how much it cost, to install windows, how much, drywall costs, how much it was going to take to do this. Like I literally would just eavesdrop on people as they walk through the house and did that because I had no clue, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I literally had no clue. And it's also regional. So the reason I'm saying do this is because the stuff in the group might be for stuff in, you know, the Pacific Northwest. Their prices are completely different.
Mm-hmm.
You dig? So you got to know what's going on
South,
in the
into
market.
Jersey, and to all those other places.
Yeah.
So I see.
Well, I hope the biggest thing that you learned from that though is really just how to be resourceful.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Just, you know, kind of goes back to Max's point. Like, you're not going to be handed answers. So in that example, Vince wasn't handed answers, so he just decided to you know, follow the people who were successful, right, and solve the problem on his own. And so in
go ahead.
business, that's what you're going to have to do.
In life in general, if you want to advance. Vince, I know you have a podcast coming up at 9, so that's like in 14 minutes. Explain what the podcast is and where people can see it.
Yeah. So the show is called Heart of the City, and there's an audio version which you can check out on, you know, iTunes and Spotify and everywhere that you listen to podcasts. But for the last couple of months, like during quarantine, we started doing these live streams, and so those are visible or viewable on Facebook, their watch platform or whatever. So we go live, and you know, if you're a friend of mine, you can see it on my page. If you just go to the show website, that's public. Anybody can watch that. That's the Heart of the City podcast Facebook page. And the show, man, is it's definitely real estate related, but it's really anything that's real estate adjacent. So we have people on there who are developers. We have people on there who are fix and flippers, but we also have people on who, you know, own cannabis farms, right? Because you want to talk about, you know, actual real estate, you know, using the land for business. And so that's what we have on today. Is actually there's a black family out in Seattle, Washington, that has a huge cannabis farm. 3 generations of their family are involved in the business. I just think it's a dope story, you know. It ain't got nothing to do with wholesaling, but I think it's an incredible story. So,
Yeah, it's still in the heart of entrepreneurship.
yeah.